Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. It's Tuesday the 21st of November. You all know what that means on Tuesdays. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on a Twitter handle. And as it's Tuesday, from now on in, I'm joined by the wonderful Kevin McKenna. Kevin, how are you, sir?
Can't think I've been doing anything better on a Tuesday morning than talking about the Celtic with you, Tony.
It's up there, isn't it? In terms of life ambitions, it's certainly up there, you know. Likewise, the feeling's very mutual and very reciprocal. We'll get to talking about Celtic in a couple of seconds. As we always do, we big up our sponsors, MPH Group, for all your plumbing, heating, kitchen and bathroom needs. Now, MPH Group. The morning briefing is brought to you by MPH Group and their Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist covering all of mainland Scotland, and every service you opt for automatically enters you into MPH's incredible holiday giveaway, and you could win a 7-night stay at the luxurious 5-star Moon Palace Resort in Cancun, Mexico. And with winter rolling in, as you can see, if you're thinking of giving your home heating system a boost, then MPH has an enticing Navian boiler winter promotion for you. And if you opt for a Navian boiler installation through MPH Boilers, you're choosing top-tier efficiency, and you're also getting a free Navian internet controller, and that little gadget can crank up your boiler's efficiency to an impressive 98%. And the cherry on top of that is that they're covering the first year service with no added costs. And if you're wondering why Navian, then they're gunning for the product of the year at the H&V News Awards, which are the Oscars of the heating world. And to top it all off, the Navian on-range comes with a 12-year parts and labours warranty to give you some serious peace of mind. So we say a big shout out to MPH because they're also nominated for a Small Company of the Year at the same awards. And MPH even offer flexible finance options. So if you're gearing up for a winter chill, consider a smart move with MPH and Navian. And you can find all the links to MPH's social media sites and telephone number in the description of this video. Now, Kevin, Celtic, the leather belts, the Marjorie Proops, the fuzzy felts, Permanent 1 from 3. We were talking off air before we come on, and I say to you that the strapline in the title is, will Celtic try and bring Jota home in January? And the two of us got a bit excited, didn't we? We were on the Mogadon to calm us down, really, weren't we? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So bring him home, Celtic. Make it happen.
There you go. And Kevin's saying there, bring him home. So if you're a bit of an erudite theatre buff, you'll know Jota has been Les Miserables since he went to Saudi Arabia. So bring him home is the chorus and verse that we sing today, Kevin. Yep, you're all for that, yeah?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, there's obviously a couple of puzzling elements to this. Which may or may not come out in the wash, but because we were hearing within weeks of him moving over there that it wasn't happening for him. You know, he was, depending on what reports were the most reliable, he was pretty soon deemed to be surplus to requirements. We saw a bit of footage of him on Twitter. I think the person sharing it was commenting rather ironically about the great crowd atmosphere, which was like he'd finished off a move, dinked it into the net, as is his style. And it was greeted with a series of hand claps. And you know, when you see a young player with so much ability who's still got potentially another decade left at the top level. And I know that the careers are short. And I know that he'll spend more years not as a footballer than as a footballer, and he'll probably go into a family. But, you know, what do you get into the game for? When you're blessed with that talent that we would all have loved to have been blessed with, and you see it kind of wasting away in a league like that. So if it's true that he is available,
yeah,
and presumably it's not going to be for an unmanageable amount of money. So let's bring him home, because he'll do a job. Well, he'll do a job for anybody, but he'll certainly do a job for us.
Yeah. I mean, I've written, there's my piece, I'll put it up on the website there, guys. There it's there. There's my thoughts this morning, and I agree with Kevin, and I've written it down. I think it's a ultimate football no-brainer to bring him home to a place where he's loved and he can be happy. And if it's for 6 months, then fine. But I also think it's the kind of signing that more or less guarantees Celtic a third successive title, Kevin, and we all know what that means. Automatic entry into the newly revamped Champions League, which could be 8 or 10 games. But I think it's a win-win for everybody concerned. So I think the fans would have him back in a heartbeat. And I'm just imagining Lewis Palmer on one wing, Jota on the other, and Kyogo Furuhashi through the middle. And yeah, I think that's a terrorising. I can see them terrorising defences and a frightening prospect for any kind of defence.
Yeah,
those three coming at you. Just my thoughts, and you can read that. You can read my thoughts on that piece. I put it on the site today, and I just think, and if it's for 6 months, Kevin, I think it's even for a short-term deal for long-term gain with Celtic being in this new Champions League. Celtic have got to win the title and they've got to be there. And I just think that there's this kind of idea amongst the Celtic supporters that they'll win the title anyway. But my thought process is that Philippe Clement's a step up from the Rangers managers that they've had in the past. And I think you have to gear yourself up for a battle for this title. And I think Celtic, if they show a bit of ambition, they like this Jota, bringing Jota home for 6 months, then I think that's the kind of signing that could more or less rubber stamp a third successive title in my eyes, because I think he's a wonderful footballer.
I agree with you. I largely agree with you. I don't think Celtic are so good right at the moment that we can guarantee ourselves the title. No matter who's the manager of Rangers, but without a doubt, Clement is getting a tune out of some players at Rangers that that weren't delivering for them, and he has a step up. He knows what he's doing, and we of course we're the favourites. We're 5 points ahead. There's 3 games against Rangers still to come, 2 of which are at Parkhead, neither of which will have any Rangers supporters. It's a kind of another indication of how their directors kind of shot themselves in the foot over the no fans ban, because Celtic have proven they can go to Ibrox and win without any supporters, but Rangers find it more difficult here, when at a time when they need all the help they can get. And Rangers will be looking to strengthen their team, but Jota is in a level that they can't reach. That's not to be disparaging to them. He's at a level in terms of finances and what is required to bring him back that Rangers can't get if he's available. There's not much that needs done to the Celtic team in terms of winning the title. But this is a player who knows the club, who delivered in almost all. He was a big game, delivered in big games, loved playing against Rangers, scored. His last act was to score in make the cup safe in 2023. Scores an absolute belter of a goal at the Bernabeu. Played well against in most of the games against Champions League teams. And if it is only for 6 months, and if there is a kind of, if there's a kind of a silent understanding that it's only to be for 6 months, and that somebody, I wonder who, would come and get him from the English Premiership, then so be it. That's the reality of Celtic. I know that we've had a few similar type signings in the past, where including Roy Keane, including Robbie Keane. And in my opinion, the one that worked best for us was Craig Bellamy. I think in 2004, 2005, who was just dynamite for Celtic in those 5 months or so. And although we ended up losing the title in the last day, I think, for Park, there's various reasons for that, but I'm not going to mention that again. But Craig Bellamy was great for us. We all knew he was going to go. He gave it everything, scored some amazing goals, including one that made the point safe at Ibrox. And that amazing hat-trick he scored against Dundee United at Tannadice, against a very good Dundee United team in a game that we had to win. 3-2 we won, I think. And the way he took each of those goals was masterful. And I think Jota can do the same if it is to be for 6 months. And who knows? I mean, he's still young. He loved it here. He might like the attention to detail of Brendan Rodgers, and he might think that a season or so under his tutelage could give him just what he needs to finesse his game to play at the Premiership. It's been done before, same kind of model. Kenny Dalglish left us at 26, didn't he?
He did indeed, yeah.
And I don't think Kenny Dalglish would have succeeded as well as he did in England, or it might have taken him a bit longer if he'd gone earlier. You only need to look at Charlie Nicholas leaving us at 21, 22. Not yet the finished article. So, look, who knows?
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm like you. I think it's a no-brainer, and Celtic should certainly ask the question and pursue it and see will they get with it. Now, Gordon Coney comes in and says Jota coming back is a no-brainer, but in a financial sense, it's a non-starter. We simply can't accommodate his wage packet. Don't know the ins and outs of any deal, but Celtic would certainly have a say in that. Lassie come home, says B. I guess it's a bit of your bring him home. Wombat saying be nice to have him back, but wages won't allow. Gary Thompson agreeing with you, bring him home. He says Alan Robertson, Les Miserables class, I mentioned that earlier. Jerry O'Raw, yes, it's Kevin today. There you go, Kevin. That's what we like to hear. Brian McGinty saying, no point going back the way, we have to move forward. But if we did, Palmer and Jota would be a frightening prospect for any opposition. It's exactly what I'm saying. Pablo 67, Jota and Powell on each wing, that would be something else. Charlie McGarvey, 100%. Tony, and then he comes back in and says, this is no fun, Tony. I'm agreeing with everything you say. Thanks very much, Charlie. Appreciate that. Hazel Finn, morning Hazel, would love to see him in the green and white again. That's Jota. And Brian McGinty saying, we're in a fight. We need to get a good signing in January, and Jota would fit the bill. You were talking about that, Kevin, in terms of Craig Bellamy, although Celtic never won the title, but he was excellent. I think Jota could have the same kind of impact there, except help Celtic win the title, you know.
The wages, of course, would be an issue. And ordinarily, we're not going to compete for the sort of wages that reportedly he went for. But that assumes that other clubs who can pay those sort of wages would, in a transfer window. And there aren't the clubs that would exist in only 4 leagues, and they're at that end of the league at the very top, where if they do want to strengthen, Real Madrid, Barcelona, the top half a dozen English teams, Bayern Munich, etc., who can pay those sorts of wages, if they do want to strengthen in the transfer window, they're not going to go for somebody like Jota, who's as yet unproven at that level.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes down to the player himself. He would get good wages, but I would imagine there would be an understanding, and part of the offer that we would give him is that, look, he keeps doing the business on the park the way he had been doing. then it won't be long before he can make the transition to one of those 4 leagues, probably England.
Yeah.
And in those circumstances, I'm happy to take the punt because, as you said, the league isn't guaranteed, and I think only one in one season since Brendan Rodgers pitched up here in 2016-17. There was only one of those seasons where I remember thinking, pretty early on, we're going to skate this. And a lot of it was to do with the way we were playing. But, looking across the city, you just knew there was nothing there that was going to challenge us. And that was borne out by taking 5 off them twice in one season. But for all our superiority, or largely our superiority since then, we'll forget about the COVID non-season. I just don't think we can't afford to think any season the league's in the bag, no matter what's happening across the city. And as you said, they have got an upgrade in the manager. We're 5 points ahead. It's ours to lose, but when we start talking in terms of it's guaranteed, that makes me feel very uncomfortable.
I just don't entertain talk like that at all. I just don't like it. Michael Ross saying the league is not a foregone conclusion that we are battle. That's exactly what we're saying. Martin Tyrrell saying Jota back would be amazing. He's not a huge Palmer fan yet, but one on each side would be a great balance. And Joe Curran comes in and saying, "Hi guys, why spend on other teams' players? Tony, you saying you fear Rangers? I don't fear anyone in Scotland." No, I've not said that at all. I don't fear any team in Scotland, but I'm just saying you have to be, one, respectful of your opponents as well. You have to admit that they've got to step up in class in terms of their manager, and there will be a challenge. I just don't like that mindset where Celtic supporters think the title's in the bag. I've never been one of those kind of guys. And Kevin also reiterating that point as well. I don't like it when Celtic supporters utter things like that. So, Joe, I haven't said I'm fearful of any team in the country because I think Celtic are the best team in the country, but they have to keep proving it and they have to keep peaking and peaking and peaking every week. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it, Joe. But yeah, it's I'm firmly in the bring him home camp. And Kaiser coming in. Morning, Kaiser, how you doing? Celtic can't be complacent. Spot on, Tony. That's exactly what I'm saying. No room for complacency. I don't think the manager will allow complacency, but I hear and I see a lot of Celtic supporters on social media saying the league was a done deal as soon as Celtic went to Ibrox and won in September. And I don't buy into that. I never will buy into that. Those theories, Kevin, or subscribe to those notions.
No. So this is the last word I'll say about the challenge from Rangers. I remember when Steven Gerrard became manager of Rangers, and we had basically beaten Rangers something like 4 times at Ibrox in a row in the previous 2 seasons. And he came to Parkhead and he beat us fair and square. No dodgy decisions, no dodgy penalties. They had just kind of got their act together, and we won the league in the end. But I remember going into that game thinking, "Oh, this will be easy peasy lemon squeezy." But nothing, nothing lasts forever. And Celtic over decades have occasionally, or the custodians of the club have occasionally been guilty of complacency or of assuming all is okay, everything is great, we just need to turn up. And I can go back to the 86-87 season. For you boys and girls who might not have been around then, Celtic had just won the league in 86. The 10 men, sorry, no, it wasn't the 10 men won the league.
Love Street, wasn't it?
Love Street 86, against all the odds, winning our last 8 games, and Hearts imploding at Dens Park. And nobody at Celtic the month before then thought we were going to win the league. It was Hearts have done well. went on a huge unbeaten run, and they would have deserved, if they had won the title, they would have deserved it, because we played them 4 times that season, drew 3, won 1. And we win the league, and you're thinking, right, we got out of jail there. There's a few areas of the team that need strengthened. Rangers have got Graham Souness, and David Hay was more or less told, what are you complaining about? Because we did well up until Christmas, and he wanted to buy the likes of Steve Clark just to strengthen things. And what happens? He gets told to fund it out of his own pocket, that we're top of the league. We go to Ibrox and we get humped 3-0. And that was a league lost. And there have been other occasions as well, most notably with Big Fletcher at Hibs, whom we should have bought when we had the opportunity to, didn't. Got a couple of fly-by nights and end up losing the league, I think, that season. So, we've got a checkered history. When we think we're in the driving seat, when we think everything's going well and the wind is set fair for us. So, just never be complacent.
A checkered history of falling asleep at the wheel, I think.
Yeah.
That famous banner. Yeah.
And I don't think it will happen. Under Brendan Rodgers, I think the terms under which Rodgers agreed to return were that he would brook very little interference with recruitment, and that's good. But see, with this board, as with other boards, sometimes you just don't know. You just don't know what's going on between their ears. So,
and that worries you greatly, doesn't it?
There's an opportunity to strengthen the team, and it's somebody like Jota, and we can deal with the wages, then just get it done. End of story.
My thoughts exactly. Just get it done. Bring him home, as you say. My sentiments exactly. Take it from there and let him fall in love again. Supporters, let him fall in love with football. Let him do what he does best. Just say, give him that stage and that platform, and then go and take his career on to the move that he probably should have made originally when he left Celtic. Can't blame the boy for going for head-turning sums of money. As you said there, it's a short career, and he's set himself up for life, even with his short tenure in Saudi Arabia. But if he's unhappy, I would want to bring him to a place where he's loved and respected and adored, and give him that platform to then go and take his career on to where he wants it to go. Again, I think the two of us are the ultimate dreamers, aren't we, Kevin?
Well,
when it comes to Celtic,
if you can't dream, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly, correct. Now, last night, Kevin, you'll have been delighted to see that Matt O'Reilly made his Denmark debut. They lost 2-0 to Northern Ireland, but he finally got his full Danish international cap, and well done, Matt O'Reilly. I think it's brilliant, and I think everybody knows he's the future of the Danish international team, isn't he? And I've written the piece on the website the other day. If you haven't read it, I'll put it up in the links again.
Good piece.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I spoke to a lot of people who spoke about Matt O'Reilly as a person as well, which I really, really liked. And so I'll put this up for you guys to have a read of it. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it, because it's some good chat in there about Matt. But culminating in last night, timing's everything. Put it out yesterday, and he got his first cap for Denmark against Northern Ireland. 2-0 defeat, but listen, first of many caps, I think, for Matt O'Reilly, isn't it?
I agree. And again, great for us, because the more players we have playing for quality international teams, the better. Not only does it stiffen us, increase our potential when we do play at the top level, but without being mercenary about it, it adds an extra few million onto any eventual transfer fee when it comes to negotiating with an interested team. And you're talking about, we've got a Danish international here. So, yeah. And from what I've seen, of him when he speaks in interviews after games, and what others who know something about him have told me, including from the piece that you'd written, Tony. He's a smart young man.
Oh yeah.
He's got a bit of charisma. There's something pleasing about the way he conducts himself. And I kind of pick up from one or two sources that he's a very positive asset.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's tautology. He's a very positive presence in the dressing room. Others around him have warned.
You sounded like a board member there, Kevin. A very positive asset instead of just a very positive person and a good influence in the dressing room.
That was Jack McGinn, wasn't it? Yeah. So yeah, delighted that he's got his cap. Absolutely delighted.
I tell you what I really liked about speaking to the people that were telling me all about him. I love the fact that Russell Martin said that he's still in touch with him just today. Zach Jules said the same thing. These were Russell Martin was his manager at MK Dons. Zach Jules was his teammate at MK Dons. And also the Danish under-21 manager said Matt came to him and said, "Don't talk to me in English, speak to me in Danish." Because the Danish manager had said to him, if you want to represent Denmark, then you have to be Danish in everything that you do. Embrace the culture, embrace the language, embrace everything that we do. And all the team talks and all the team meetings were in Danish. And Matt O'Reilly said, "That's fine. If I don't understand, I'll ask." And the Danish under-21 manager said he would speak to Matt in English after it just to make sure he'd understood everything. And Matt O'Reilly's like, no. Speak to me in Danish. I understand, you know. Good. And I love that about him. I just love, and as you say, I think he's a real positive influence in that dressing room as well. And you only need to look at when Celtic are going round the park at the end, clapping the fans. He's always up to something with some player, isn't he? He's always having a laugh and a joke. There's always a wee episode. I think the last one I saw in the Aberdeen game, he was saying to Palmer as if, "How did you do that?" And he was, mimicking the kind of cross in with the outside of the boot, or the two of them were having a laugh about it. He's probably saying to him, "Touch of class," that kind of thing. Sometimes he's carrying on with Kyogo, and then there's other guys. So I think he's a well-liked character as well. And
well, I think we talked about this at the time, but the interview he gave after the first season when
Rodgers came in,
when Turnbull scored,
yes, that's right,
goals. And it was clear from the interview that he was just delighted for his teammate because he'd had a hard time in not getting very many starts, and knowing, there was a lot in that little exchange. I know that some people read maybe a bit too much into it of maybe an issue with Ange Postecoglou, but what it said to me was that it was a kind of fraternal affection,
yes,
for another young man who was struggling to get into the team, but also knowing that Turnbull had good ability. Had that O'Reilly acknowledged his teammates' ability and was just delighted for him. Probably while he's saying this, and this is young players are. We can remember when we played as school kids and amateurs. When you see another player who plays in your territory in the park doing very well, there's obviously there's an obvious threat there to your first team place. You want to kind of appreciate them and say nice things about them. You don't want to appreciate them too much because they might be taking your jersey. So there was I took a lot from that, and I thought, he's so young, but there's a maturity there, and I think, as I said, a kind of a degree of charisma there, and kind of affection that it was just quite pleasing to see from a human perspective.
I love the fact also that Russell Martin said when he was playing in League One with MK Dons, he was hitting world-class passes but he didn't have world-class players around him. So you can just imagine him getting frustrated about that, eh? And he's come to Celtic and he's playing with a decent standard and calibre of teammate, Jota being one of them, in that first couple of seasons.
And the understanding he has with Kyogo is
it's frightening, isn't it? Yeah, correct. And and that painted a picture for me. I can just imagine him playing these through passes to nobody, just like throwing his hands up in the air kind of thing. But it didn't stop him from doing it. Russell said, so, and Zach Jules said he was just way above the level, that level, but he gambled on himself because he turned down a 3-year deal at Fulham and he was training on his own, and it could all have gone awry for him.
Yeah.
But he gambled on himself because he thought, and that's what I admire most about Matt O'Reilly. He knew he had ability, and it was just what stage and what opportunity he would get. And thankfully, Celtic came along and have given him that. And he gone from playing League One to the Champions League against Real Madrid in 12 months. I mean, it's an incredible story as well when you think about it.
Yeah. I would say that he's one of a handful of players in the last 7-8 years who when he takes the park and he's on song, really, you would turn up just to watch him.
Yeah.
As you get older, you can get a bit long in the tooth, a bit cynical, seen it all. It's going to take something special to kind of really excite you. But when I see him playing well and the ability that he has, it delights me. So, I think he'll get a few more caps for Denmark. I think he's also capped. See if he was with us and still in 5 or 6 years, he's captain material, is he not?
Oh, without a doubt.
There's a leadership. He's got a leadership aspect with him.
This is what he said about playing, making his debut last night, and he got the number 10 jersey, I think, which is the domain of Christian Eriksen. He said it was pretty cool to be handed the number 10 jersey before the match. It's a number that the good players wear, so a bit of pressure, but not something I thought about. I'm obviously proud of the first international match, but a 2-0 loss to Northern Ireland, I'm a little bit sad about that. I hope to stay in the team and play a part at the Euros next. There you go. Very level-headed and very sensible approach, Kevin.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he even references the fact that, he didn't give it the whole dream come true. He was like, not the result I wanted. So he's just like,
Do we know how he did?
Well, David Healy, the Northern Ireland manager, said he reminded him of Frank Lampard making those runs into the box. And Stephen Craigan said he was excellent, and he's took his game to another level with Celtic this season, and the Celtic supporters will enjoy seeing him playing for Denmark.
I'll take that.
Tonight. So I think that's high praise as well. If David Healy saying he reminds him of Frank Lampard, then that's high praise. Yeah. Hazel Finn coming in saying, well done, Matt O'Reilly. He didn't look out of place last night. Gordon Coney saying, well done to O'Reilly. Bright future ahead for the boy. And Brian McGinty saying him and his family have embraced the Celtic culture. I was talking about the Danish culture. And he also comes back in and says that goal between Matt and Kyogo against Madrid was football of the highest order. Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's one of the best European goals I've seen in a long, long time. And I've referenced a goal before, and it was Liam Miller's against Lyon.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And the reason I referenced it was David Pleat was co-commentating in the ITV commentary box because it was networked, and he said you would go a long way to see a better goal in European football that season. He said counting the passes, and I think it was over 30, but most of the time you just see the ball in. I think it was from Chris Sutton, and Liam Miller headers it in. But
can I tell you, see that performance that night?
Mm-hmm.
I'll stick my neck out and say, I know we beat Man United 1-0. Nakamura's magical free kick. We beat Juventus 4-3. We beat Anderlecht 3-0 away from home. But if you remember how good that Leon team were, that season, and we defeated them 2-0. We probably should have got a draw in Leon.
Yep.
So over, if you kind of look at it as through the lens of the old two-legged situation, so we defeated them playing really good football over 2 legs, outplaying them for large parts of both games, but especially at Parkhead. I would say that was probably the most impressive performance a Celtic team had delivered in the Champions League.
But I referenced that goal because it was a great football goal, and I thought the same about. I thought the same about Kyogo's and O'Reilly. It was a brilliant football goal,
and it was about 30-odd passes, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Big Sutton that night. Just they couldn't handle him. They could not handle him.
And it was David Pleat that referenced it because it stuck in my mind, which is why I went home and watched it again. And and that goal you talk about, Matt O'Reilly and Kyogo's link up and stuff, and that kind of brought that back. It was a brilliant football goal, played at pace and played at a tempo. And that night against Leon, Celtic played at a pace and a tempo and knocked it about. And it wasn't possession for possession's sake. They actually manoeuvred themselves into space. It was a brilliant goal, So I just, that you talk about that understanding that Matt O'Reilly has with Kyogo and stuff like that. It's almost telepathic. He had it with Jota as well. The pass for Jota and the dink, in the 3-0 game was just brilliant as well, wasn't it?
I know that the last time I was on, I was still smarting from our defeat by Atletico. And I'd been really disappointed with Matt O'Reilly's first half display, but I just thought the game had passed him by, and he might have looked as if he might have been carrying an injury. He didn't look particularly fit. But if you look at his the way he has played in all the European games he's taken part in, including I think 5 out of 6 last season, he did well. You could say that over the piece he has played well. A solid 7 to 8 out of 10 against some of the kind of the best sides on the continent.
Yeah,
and also because of his attitude, which I think bodes well for Celtic and says something about the attitude of the squad. After being dismantled by Atletico, there wasn't. They didn't go overboard, unlike me, with the depression and throwing the toys out and burying their heads in their hands, saying we need to learn lessons and. Just as well, I've got nothing to do with the running of a football club.
Well, I like the manager's thoughts on it. He says they have the 24-hour grieving process, and then you get it out your system and you have to move on. And
I wish I had that.
Yeah,
I wish I had that mechanism.
But I think it's testimony to the players because it must hurt them as well. But the nature of football is that the next challenge is coming along and they have to move on. And I did the piece as well about the contrasting emotions of the 2-6-0 matches. One you're down there, and the next one you're up there, and the way you played your football.
I can't handle it. I mean, there's a few when something like that happens, right? And it's the same with when the very few occasions were beaten by Rangers. So first of all, you're not buying any papers. And I'm a newspaper junkie. And it's like, I'm not buying any papers because it'll be the usual suspects. They'll all love it. They'll love it when Rangers win. They love to see us getting a doing and all the paranoias come out. Then you're looking at your schedule for the day and you're thinking, right, is there any Rangers fans that I'm due to meet? Oh God! In fact, the other week there was a night out, a family night out. one of the people who was going to be there, some massive Rangers season ticket holder, and I'm thinking, I wonder if I could just, can I avoid this one?
Swear it.
Can I bloody swear this one? How important is? Yeah, no, I can't. And then you're thinking, I'm 60. Yeah.
Grow up.
There's never going to be a stage where it's like you can get it in perspective. And I mean, when we went 3-0 down, and I was like, right, I'm out of here. I can't. And if I'm watching, I mean, it was the same Barcelona. I can't watch them getting dismantled. There's an emotional reaction, and others. I've seen people tweeting away, hanging it out to the bitter end, and I can't do it after 3. I'm up, out, going for a walk. Pathetic. I know it's pathetic, and it's unprofessional, and it's unbecoming, and it's immature, but yeah, I wish I could have the 24-hour grieving process.
Well, I'll give you a laugh. You mentioned 2004-05, and I was working the Daily Record at the time, and that Sunday, which shall not be named.
Oh God, I was working with the Daily Mail at the time.
I had written a tribute to the champions, but it was a green and white tribute, wasn't it? And you'll remember this, man. So the inevitable happens, and the wonderfully talented Ian Scotty, he's walked around the desk. I know what's coming, and he's just looked me in the eye and he said, "I need you to do everything that you did with a blue and white hue, young man." And that was my reaction, because if I didn't laugh, I would have cried, right? I was there till like midnight, and we never spoke. I just did it, game by game, month by month, 6 games or 10 games at one time, all that kind of stuff, right? And I left, and I came in the next day, and he just looked at me, tapping his shoulder, and says, "I won't forget that, young man." And that was it. Not a word was spoken about it ever again. And he's no longer with us. And I always remember that. And he just, as I say, just casually walked round. "I need you to do it all with a blue and white hue." I was like, "Oh no," that way. And you know what? I would probably have appreciated it if he'd have said, if he'd have slagged me and said something better. I was just like, "Oh wow." And again, as you say, you just got to be professional. You got to get your head down and do it. But I'm like you. I just didn't want to be there.
I remember where I was there as well. It was a Sunday, as you said, and I was with Her Majesty's Daily Mail, and what it was a draw. A draw would have done it for us.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't. Celtic needed to win. I think they were 2 points ahead.
So we were a goal up with a few minutes to go, and I'm because we'd missed a few. So I'm watching it in the office, right?
They'd missed a lot.
And I'm surrounded by, there's quite a lot of Rangers, but there weren't all that many Celtic fans. So 5 minutes ago, we won 1-0. I go for a walk, and the offices were just backing onto Cowcaddens. So I thought, by the time I come back, game will be over, and happy days, hopefully. and as I'm walking back, I hear, sometimes in a quiet Sunday afternoon in Glasgow, you can hear, when there's a big game, you can hear a muffled roar emanating from somewhere. So you're first of all saying, "What's that? Is that the football?" Then you kind of ascertain that it must be the football. Then you start to think of the neighbourhood and think, is this a Celtic neighbourhood or is it a Rangers neighbourhood? So who's more likely to? And also, was that a shout and celebration by Rangers fans or is it Celtic fans? So by the time I walked in, I'm in a state, and the doorman is a Rangers man, and he just had a big smile, and he just...
You knew?
Nodded. He didn't come in, God bless him. And then 6 hours of basically producing a paper that had 8 pages devoted to it.
I think talking about it has set my dogs off. You can maybe hear them.
It's like when you mentioned Thatcher last week.
Yeah, exactly. Certain trigger words trigger the dogs, Oh, it's wonderful. I brought them up well, I think you'll find. But there you go. No, but yeah, we look at that. I mean, that's 45 minutes. We've spoke Jota coming home. We've spoke about Matt O'Reilly debut for Denmark, and we've spoken about Craig Bellamy, stuff like that. And that Sunday that shall never be spoken about
We've
again.
had it's turned into a self-help. I still remember, why did we keep Aidan McGeady on the bench? I mean, we were we were running an empty that last 15 minutes, and we've got a couple of young players on the bench who would have taken the game for a walk. I still, it's like Maloney's cross in the last minutes against Porto, with the free kick.
I know.
A pal of mine who never, ever, ever took to Maloney after that, no matter what he did for us. He'd always resented him because of that. Free kick in the Cup final.
Well, I was convinced that Larsson was anointed and he was going to score a hat-trick and Celtic would win 3-2, because I've always maintained had Celtic got their noses in front in that game that I don't think Porto would have came back from it. But
then
they didn't. They didn't.
God bless him, but with big Rab Douglas and goal, and
yes, correct.
There was always going to be a possibility of something, and getting sent off.
I still thought, even with 10 men, it's just the way, the Celtic way, isn't it, really? Brian McGinty, you've just gave me a memory I thought I'd erased from the archives. Thanks, Tori and Kevin. Shares can go up as well as down, Yellow pages, we're not just here for the good things in life. There's some bad things in life too. With Celtic, you have to take the rough with the smooth.
It's like a cathartic.
Yeah, I always think
it's a cathartic experience. You have to talk the way through it.
You have to talk through it with others who, and it's like, the newer generation, they just hate guys saying to them, the Celtic dash, saying, you never lived through the 90s, man. You weren't there, man. That kind of stuff. They absolutely hate it, don't they? But
well, since then, it didn't do as much harm, because since then, by my reckoning, we've won 14 out of the 18 titles.
Correct. so I think you have to go through that to enjoy what came after. So I think, there you go. Gary Thompson, you're both cheaper than my shrink anyway, laugh out loud. Well, we're a lot of things to all men and women on this Celtic Way community, Kevin, but I think cathartic's the word. Everybody, we like everybody to come on and have their say, and we like to throw up the comments, and we address everything, good and bad, because that's what being a Celtic supporter is all about. Kevin's memory, my own memory, can go back quite a fair bit. I mentioned a game. We were talking about hat tricks, weren't we? And I mentioned a game. I went,
Charlie.
Oh, fair. First part, and you went like 7-0. I was there. It's just instant. You mentioned something.
I remember it was absolutely boiling. It was like early in the season. First part was looking just smashing. And it was a beautiful sunny day.
So somebody put up something on Facebook yesterday, and it was the Celtic fans at Tynecastle in 1988, the week before they won the title against Dundee. They just left it hanging there. And somebody was like, you beat 2-1. You beat 2-1. Mark McGee pulled a goal back. When we were 2-0 down. And somebody was like, oh, thanks, because I didn't know.
We won the races, as I recall.
Yeah. And then there was the conspiracy theory that they just wanted all the punters in for
that's right.
the trophy day, where allegedly there was, I don't know, 50,000. Was 80,000. I think the official capacity, wasn't it?
I mean, I've been in Tynecastle dozens of times, and we always, take a good support. I love Tynecastle, love it.
Yeah.
Loved it in the old days, but I mean, the crushing and the amount of fans that we took through that game was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Jerry O'Rourke comes in. Celtic's like a love affair, correct? And Steve McGrory. Morning, Steve. How are you doing? Without the bad things, we can't fully appreciate the great things.
Absolutely.
Correct? And I think that's a test of every Celtic supporter, isn't it? Was it Fergus McCann said it's not easy being a Celtic supporter, but it's always worthwhile?
Correct.
I think that's a great statement from a man who should probably have a statue erected outside Celtic.
Yeah, I think we should
somewhere.
If there's a suitable, and well, there doesn't have to be an excuse to talk about our Fergus. I think at some point, if you're up for it, we should have a
Fergus special
and a campaign. We could start a campaign here. A statue for the bonnet.
The bonnet, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would be up for that. That would be a great podcast, I think, talking about the bonnet. Met him once.
Oh, I've got a couple of cracking stories.
Brilliant.
We'll
keep them for a separate show on the bonnet. I think that would be excellent. I think lots of people will tune in for that. Yeah, you go. Brian McGinty saying we've been spoiled as Celtic fans in recent times.
Yeah, we can't complain, Brian.
Certainly, yeah. Jerry Smith coming in. Great show, boys. Kevin, Tuesday's brilliant. There you go. We can't say any fairer than that. Very kind. And that's 51 minutes. We're still on international week. We're on the countdown to Saturday.
I know. Thank God.
Normality returns. Club football returns, and we just.
Why did we suddenly go from the much loved kind of international Wednesdays to like an entire 2 weeks? Is it simply as a consequence of how many new
countries
have been created?
Calendar, isn't it? Yeah.
How sprawling the qualifiers are.
Yeah.
It's just you know.
I mean, I was looking at obviously Lewis Palmer, who had a wonderful assist the other night, and they were saying he's injured for the return leg against Mexico. Yeah. And it was like the CONCACAF Nations League. And I'm like, I've never heard of that tournament. You know, I like to think I'm a man of the football world, and I know a thing or six about what countries are competing in what, but I'd never heard of the CONCACAF Nations League. So, but I think it's just the same as our own setup. So, yeah. Bring back club football, Kevin. It was a lot more simpler, wasn't it? And the home internationals at the end of the season, where they went Saturday, Wednesday.
Well, I was chatting. I mean, I'm being very selfish here. You know, obviously, I like to see Scotland do the business, but you know, I'm not. I'm not. You know, the most committed Scotland fan. But I was speaking to a St Johnstone supporter the other week, and we were talking about this, and I was sort of saying, I just can't. But as soon as I know it's international week, it's like, you know, you're getting the DTs, and he's saying, you know, but you've got to put yourself in our shoes, because you know our clubs are always going to struggle. We're very rarely going to get a taste of a bit of glamour. You know, we're not going to be playing in Europe, so for us, watching our country playing against a top, you know, European nation, even at international level, even if none of our players are in it, and I got it, you know. Yeah. I saw that, and that's all right, you know. And I saw the Scotland game the other night, and yeah. They're trying, you know, they're trying to play with a bit of verve, a bit of kind of pizzazz, a bit of adventure, and Callum was good, and when's the draw?
I love the expression, you get the DTs when you come away from club football. the Charlie Drakes, as they're known. Yeah, exactly.
You're trying to knock up this enthusiasm to watch Scotland versus Norway. You know, you're trying to get with the picture and the old Tappan Army stick, you know, to kind of compensate for the fact that there's been no proper football for over a week, and it just doesn't work, does it?
I think Brian McGinty nails it. You can't beat watching the Glasgow Celtic. Can't wait for the weekend. Correct. None of us can wait for the weekend. Well, that's 54 and a half minutes. I always enjoy it when you're on, Kevin. We go off. I think if we were fast show characters, I think we'd be called the Tangent Men, wouldn't we? Because we can go off at tangents and stuff. But yeah, I like that. I like
miserable old sods.
I can write down. I've got a loose structure But I know when I'm on with yourself, it's going to end up. Remember that thing? It's got the Venn diagram and all that kind of stuff. Big circle topic and boom, 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 like Spaghetti Junction, and I like that. I like that about it because it's non-constricting. You know, you end up taking where your mind and your memories go, and I think lots of people like that too, and we like them sharing their own memories and stuff like that. So excellent. But yeah, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. AGM day tomorrow as well. We'll maybe preview that in detail, myself and young Ryan. But yeah, Tuesdays are a joy actually now, sharing it with your good self. I've loved that, and thank you very much. And as
I'm going to AGM. I'm going to count how many times there are references to the fiduciary.
Yes,
duties. Because that's become part of the argot, hasn't it?
Yes.
These things, you know, whenever there's a question, how are we not doing this? Why have we not done that? But we've got a fiduciary duty to our shareholders. Get yourself.
That's fast entering the lexicon of football, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fiduciary duties, yes, indeed. There you go. We always say thank you to MPH Group, our sponsor, and for all your plumbing, heating, kitchen and bathroom needs. Check all their links to their social media sites and the telephone number in the description of this video, as well as the Navian promotion. But we urge you every day to subscribe to the Celtic Way website. It costs you £4 for 4 months or £18 for a yearly subscription. And you hit that button, you help support top quality football journalism, covering the club you love. And hit that button, guys. Visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. The YouTube videos are free, i.e., this one and all the others. But in order to help us keep producing top quality journalism, we urge you to subscribe and read all the stuff that's on the web. Now, all I can say is thank you, Kevin. Really enjoyed that.
My pleasure.
McKenna's come in. Thanks, Tony and Kevin. Hail, boys. Great show.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks very much. That's very kind. Dennis Jameson, great show again, boys. Thank you. Jerry O'Rourke, brilliant show with Tony and Kevin. Well done, guys. Thank you. That's really, really kind. We do appreciate it. And as I say, we try and read your comments out. We enjoy that. We enjoy the to and fro, and we just like to stir up some memories. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Hey, well, we try and beat everything to all men and women, as I say, in the Celtic Way community, but we enjoy it. Well, we hope you enjoy it as well. And we see from the comments that you clearly do. So that means a lot to us. But Kevin, thank you so much. Roll on next Tuesday, as they say. But you enjoy your club fix on Saturday. Celtic versus Motherwell, yeah. What is it now? Wednesday, Thursday. 3 more sleeps, Kevin. 3 more sleeps. we're in that kind of period for that kind of stuff now, aren't we? You know what I mean? Like the big wains that we are. But thank you, guys. Have a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.